Welcome to techSoft solution. In today's session, we will see how to insert data into table in Oracle. In the last session, we have seen how to create table in database like Oracle as well as in MS SQL Server. How to insert data into table in Oracle. So basically, before entering a data into an Oracle, key points we need to think about it. Let's say for example, we pretty much aware of EMP table, which columns we need to insert a data. Let's say for example, values. What do you mean by values? So basically inserting a data into a table, we need to use a values clause. Insert is a clause, into is a clause, EMP is a table name, values is a clause where we need to provide the data which we need to insert a data into an EMP table. Let's say for example, we want to insert a one record of an employee in the EMP table in Oracle database. So we say employee number as 1, which is a char type, Amit a varchar type, salary of a number type 5000, city of a varchar type Mumbai, and a date 15 September 1985. For inserting data for data type char, varchar2 and date type, we need to use a quotes while inserting a date. So what we have provided 15 Sep 1985, but the default date time format is dd YYYY SQL format, but in the Oracle format we are storing as dd MOMYY. Another way of inserting a data into a table. So basically, what is the another way? So we can provide the column name on which column we need to insert a data. So we can switch the column name also. Let's say for example, for a table we don't require these three values. So we can also insert only two values like employee number and the salary. Over here, let's say for example, we are inserting the entire column name value. So basically this statement is in standard way of inserting a data into a table. So let's try this in the Oracle database. We will first select the table to check do we have any data in the table or not. So as you can see, no rows selected. It means that there is no data in the EMP table. We can insert a data into a table by using a first insert statement. As you can see on your screen, insert into EMP, right? By using a values clause and inserting these values. Okay, so let's say for example, insert into EMP, okay, and then values, then open close bracket. So employee number is in character type. So again, Amit is a varchar type. So let's say for example Amit, and then salary of about number type, and the city is a varchar type, and the date also we need to store in the single quotes as it is a date. Okay, semicolon after the ending of the command. Yes, one row created. We can check what is the record is in EMP. As you can see, Amit 5000 Mumbai and 15 September 85. As you can see on the Oracle default date format is dd MOM and YY. dd MOM and YY. We can use the another way of inserting a data into a table, which is another way of inserting data into a table by specifying the column name while inserting a data. So let's say for example, what we can do, we can click on up arrow. We can provide the column names. Like what are the column names we do have? So first is EMP number, second is means salary, ename, employee name, city, what is the city of the employee, date of birth of the employee, and another one is the above command that we have already inserted. So over here we have moved the column name first sal and ename between. Okay, so what we can do, just remove Amit out of from here and we can put Amit over here. Say let's say for example another name King, salary of around 700, employee ID is second employee living in Delhi, date of birth would be maybe change, maybe same, we can change it. Let's say for example Feb and 1968. After running this, one row created. If we can select the data from EMP table, it will say Amit and King. These are the two data were inserted into this table. So if you notice, there are two ways to insert a data, EMP number as well as this one. Okay, without specifying the column name and with specifying the column name. So the thought here is inserting a data into a table with a column name. This is a standard way to insert a data into a table. Okay. There is another way also to insert a data into a table. Let's say for example, if you want to insert only employee number and salary, but for example, you have hired a new employee. So for that, you don't have that much of information. You have only employee number and the what is the salary for that employee, and rest of the information you will insert later on. So what you can do, you can provide employee number and salary to insert a data. So let's say for example, if we can utilize the above query by removing other stuffs, and we can insert a values. Let's say for example like this, it is 3, 8 and the semicolon. One row again created. If you can select the data, what we will get, employee name is blank, salary is 8,000, city is blank, date of birth is blank, but EMP number is 3, right? So like this we can insert a data into a table. So as you can see, right, we have inserted data with the help of three types. First type with the without column specification, with column specification, and with minimal column specification. So let's say for example, whatever the column name does not have, you haven't provided the value for columns, so the data stored for that columns are nothing but null, means nothing. A null value is having ASCII value 0. Let's say for example, if you have provided a name Amit and King of a varchar type, so it will store a 4 character bytes into the database. But if you haven't provided a name for this entry, so over here it is stating as null. So in that case, what happen? It will store a blank 0 value. Special treatment is given to a null values in all RDBMS. Basically, if you're inserting any value, it will store with the character type whatever have you specified for the column. But if you haven't provided, it is stored as null. So in that case, in all RDBMS, the same pattern is given for null type of column. Null values in independent of types can be inserted. Null values of any data type. So for example, for any data type, you can make the column as null. For example, if you can see Amit, salary, city, date of birth. So for example, there could be an employee that has been joined in the company, but the salary has not been decided, so we can insert as null. We don't have the date of birth information of the employer, so we can store it as null. So where we can utilize null, so these are the example where we can utilize the null values. Null value occupies only 1 byte of storage. If row is ending with null values, then those columns will not occupy any space in the storage. Say for example, this is the row where EMP number is only specified and all rest of the columns it does not have any values, means it is a null values. If we know that few of the columns are going to be null values in it, then it recommended to keep those columns in the last during the creation of the table to conserve on hard disk space. So why column needs to be put it on the last if that contains the null values? So basically what happened, right, if you are inserting a null, then there is no space for that columns, and the operations to identify those data, those column will happen on the null values. So please keep a null columns. If you find out this column will contain null data, this column may contain a data later on, so we can keep this column at the last where the before column contain a data. Okay, this is standard to have a null columns to be aside. Another insert statement which cause an error. So let's say for example, you can insert a data into a table like this. Insert into EMP values 4 and Atul. 4 is nothing but employee number, and the Atul is a character name of the employee. Will raise an error. Because why? First thing you may need to know, while inserting a data into an EMP table, you may need to provide a columns. Otherwise, if you are not providing the columns, then you may need to provide the values for entire columns. You can't provide two columns value. Let's say for example, we can perform these things on the command line. So let's say for example, inserting a data into a table, we can utilize this query. Okay. Let's say for example, we are inserting a data like this. Okay. It will give you an error. As you can see, not enough values. Okay, EMP does not have enough value for these columns. We need to provide the entire column names, entire column values. There is another way to insert a null for entire columns. They may come later to fill values if you know during inserting data table. data in the table. So let's say for example you may have came across the scenario where employee does not have such information. They may come later on. So what we can do, we can insert their data later on. Let's say for example I'm trying to insert a data for and salary is 8,000. So first would be a name, because the column definition is like first employee numbers, name, salary. So now salary is not defined for the employee, and the city also not defined by the employee, salary, city. Okay, and the another one is date of birth also is not defined. One row is created, right? If we, okay, as you can see, Atul is inserted without having salary, city, and date of birth. So the next topic would be how to select data from table in Oracle as well as MS SQL Server. So we are not going to do inserting a data into a table in SQL. MS SQL Server is also similar like an Oracle. So I'll give you a task for you guys to perform this in MS SQL Server if you have installed MS SQL Server in your local machine. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us in the comment. We will glad to help you. Thanks for watching. Hit or like button or subscribe our channel for more details for next lecture.